You didn't fall in love. You fell into yourself. What you thought was romance was actually a sacred disruption. That person didn't just enter your life to love you. They came to awaken every piece of you you tried to forget. The moment you met them wasn't fate. It was a mirror. A mirror that cracked open your comfort, exposed your wounds, and whispered truths your soul had buried for lifetimes. We've been taught to call this love. But what if it was more than that? What if it was shadow work in disguise? Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But he never promised that transformation would be gentle. Sometimes it feels like chaos. Sometimes it feels like grief. Sometimes it feels like being reborn inside your own pain. This wasn't just a relationship. This was the universe using another soul to peel back your layers, tear through illusion, and push you toward the version of yourself you were always meant to become. So no, this wasn't ordinary love. It was a soul-level summoning. And now, it's your turn to understand why. Now let's go deeper. Here are 10 signs rooted in Jung's philosophy that what you experienced wasn't ordinary love. It was a psychological initiation, a call to evolve a sacred mirror revealing your true self. Stay with me, because by the end, you will understand not just love, but yourself differently. Chapter 1. They arrive when your shadow is ready. Their entrance isn't about your loneliness or your readiness in the conventional sense. They appear precisely when your shadow, that unacknowledged, disowned part of you, is primed for emergence. Not the smiling for photos you, nor the safety-seeking mirror avoiding you. No, you meet them the moment your soul whispers, "It's time." Time to remember. Time to uncover. Time to feel again. Carl Jung defined the shadow as everything we've denied or repressed, not because it's evil, but because we were taught it was unlovable. When someone enters your life with an overwhelming cosmic pull, it's more than chemistry. It's a reunion of your forgotten parts, seeking integration. They weren't an accident. They were summoned by your wounds, your inner child, every buried belief. That's why their gaze feels like an X-ray. Every conversation peels a layer. Every silence echoes unspoken truths. This is soul activation. They don't just give you butterflies. They make you feel your broken pieces. They awaken old emotions, trigger buried insecurities, expose fears that only surface when something real arrives. The deeper the connection, the louder your shadow speaks. You'll flinch, overthink, sabotage, not because they're wrong, but because your shadow has never been this close to the light. This isn't a romantic movie. It's transformation. They aren't your missing half. They are the mirror you were unready for until now. Real love confronts holding up weaknesses and asking, "Are you ready to love these too?" If it hurts, if it's overwhelming, if they feel like home and a storm, it's your soul cracking open. Your shadow is ready to be seen. Chapter 2. The connection feels strangely, unmistakably familiar. You meet them, and something inside you pauses, not in fear, but in a strange aching recognition, like a sleeping part of you just awoke. They don't feel new. They feel like a forgotten memory, a recurring dream made real. Carl Jung called this synchronicity meaningful coincidences your conscious mind can't explain, but your unconscious instantly recognizes. It's not always the first meeting of souls, but the first time your soul catches up to what it's always known. The way they speak, the way they look at you, as if they've seen your truth, not just your face. You feel seen for who you are, were, and are meant to become. This is Jung's concept of archetypes, unconscious patterns drawing us to those carrying a message, a lesson, a mirror. Their arrival isn't chaos, it's stillness recognition, an inner silence as something ancient sighs. Oh, it's you. Logic steps aside, ego loses control, time bends. What remains is presence, energy, a force both magnetic and peaceful. Explaining it sounds eccentric. How do you define a connection that feels pre-born? It's not familiar because it's superficially comfortable. It's familiar because it's linked to your unconscious blueprint, your patterns, wounds, dreams. You weren't just drawn to them. You were remembering them as a reflection of something hidden sacred within you, now safe to emerge. This isn't just love. It's awakening. This wasn't the first time your souls touched, just the first time you were awake enough to notice. Chapter 3. Intense, unsettling emotional triggers. They say love should be peace, but what if real love feels like an internal war? Not with them, but with yourself. You meet them, your heart opens, and suddenly so does your pain. Not because they're hurting you, but because they mirror the parts of you still hurting. Jung said, people will do anything to avoid facing their own soul. A soulmate doesn't let you run numb or pretend. Their very presence activates your unfinished business. A compliment can trigger unworthiness, silence, abandonment wounds, misunderstanding, childhood reliving. Why? This isn't surface love. It's deep soul surgery. They touch forgotten wounds, not to reopen them, but to bring them to light. The deeper the trigger, the deeper the call to heal. You ask, why does this love hurt so much? It's not love hurting. It's your carried pain now exposed. They aren't the source of pain. They are the catalyst, the unlock, the mirror to where you don't love yourself. This is Jung's shadow work, facing rejected, repressed parts. In the context of Carl Jung's shadow work, real love isn't afraid of your shadow. It asks, will you still choose yourself when broken? Yes, love can trigger shake, break you open to show you the door you've feared. Walk through it, and you don't just love them. You reclaim lost pieces of yourself. The person who triggers you most might be the one your soul chose to set you free. Chapter 4. Synchronicity surrounds your meeting. It wasn't supposed to happen that day. You weren't supposed to be there. You almost canceled. They almost didn't show. Yet, your eyes met. Paths crossed. Souls remembered. Everything shifted. Coincidence. Fate. Jung called it synchronicity, seemingly unrelated events colliding with deeper a causal meaning. Not random, but meaningful, soul-aligned. You didn't just meet, you were meant to meet. The universe ensured it. That accidental DM, that missed flight leading to a conversation, that mutual friend, none were luck. It was a divine breadcrumb trail your soul followed perfectly. Before your bodies met, your energies danced. Before hello, your unconscious minds had signed a contract. When timing aligned, it wasn't your doing, it was a summoning. Jung believed the unconscious always guides, nudging, aligning, orchestrating people and events, not to make life easy, but to awaken you. When it's time to evolve, your unconscious calls in the person with the exact frequency to do it, the one whose presence stirs your truth, whose story activates your next chapter, whose arrival you feel more than understand. Looking back, it defied logic, but made emotional, spiritual sense. Real connections don't follow schedules or checklists. They happen when your soul aligns, even if your mind is confused. That's how you know it's real. It bypasses logic, speaks straight to destiny. So that accidental meeting. It might have been your shadow meeting its mirror, your future cracking open. Chapter 5. They challenge your false self. We all wear masks not from fakery, but from learned safety performing rather than being seen. We built identities from survival, not authenticity, the strong one, smart one, nice one. A version the world accepted even if it cost us our truth. Jung called this the persona, the social mask. Beneath it is the self-raw, real divine. Then they walked in, and somehow they didn't buy the act. They weren't impressed by your success or your role-playing. They weren't hypnotized by charm or image. They saw past it. They didn't love your mask. They collided with your essence. That's why it's so intense. Being seen without your mask isn't romantic. It's terrifying. Like standing naked before a mirror. Your ego feels like it's dying, and in a way it is. They make you question habits, beliefs, self-told lies. Not to fix you, but because their energy, their truth, doesn't align with your illusion. They interrupt your story, disrupt your role, challenge the false identity built for love. That's how you know it's real. True love doesn't flatter your facade. It breaks the illusion. It strips away everything, not you. It confronts the mask, whispering, "You don't need this anymore." It makes you sit in the discomfort of your truth to finally meet the you buried beneath performance. Yes, it's vulnerable, exposing, terrifying, but also sacred. Being loved for your mask is validation. Being seen without it and still chosen is healing. They don't love your character. They love the soul behind the costume. When someone meets that you don't just feel exposed, you finally feel real. Love that awakens feels more like remembering than romance. It doesn't make you more impressive. It makes you more honest. And that's when healing begins. Not when your mask is praised, but when someone dares reach for your soul and stays. Chapter 6. You see your shadow through them. At first you think it's them, distant, cold, too emotional, too unavailable. Then a deeper whisper, is this them, or is this me, reflected back? Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Nowhere is this truer than in love. Soulmates don't just reflect dreams, they reflect demons. They mirror not just light, but shadow, jealousy, control, abandonment, unworthiness, emotional armor. Everything disowned now in front of you, wearing their face. You think they're the problem, emotionally unavailable, unreassuring, pushing you away, making you insecure. The brutal truth, they're activating a wound already there long before them. They're not doing it to you. Their energy matches the frequency of your buried pain. This is Jung's projection, seeing in others what we haven't owned in ourselves. Deeper connection, intense projection. You feel judged because you judge yourself. Abandoned because you abandon your own needs. Unloved because you haven't learned to love yourself unconditionally. That's the awakening. Stop blaming them. Start meeting you. Stop asking, why are they like this? And ask, what part of me needs attention? This is the sacred pain of a soulmate connection. They don't just bring butterflies. They show you where you're still bleeding. You won't see it at first. You'll argue, pull away blame. But with work, you'll realize this was never about fixing them. It was about reclaiming parts of you you've tried to live without: anger, neediness, fear of inadequacy, the inner child crying to be seen. They showed you all of it, gifting you the invitation to become whole. This is the essence of Carl Jung shadow work. Until you face your shadow, You'll keep attracting it, dating it, blaming it, just with different names. True love brings confrontation. If they triggered your deepest parts, maybe it wasn't punishment, but liberation. Chapter 7. They disrupt your life's flow. They didn't just enter. They shook your life like an unexpected storm, a lightning bolt in a calm sky. One moment, predictable, safe, familiar. Then they arrived, and nothing made sense. Old friendships felt distant habits, meaningless. Old chases, unexciting. Your inner world became a battlefield. But hear this wasn't chaos. It was initiation. Jung taught that true spiritual awakening begins with disruption. Before rebirth, your false life must collapse. You thought they were here as a conventional partner for comfort, but they weren't sent to protect your routine. They were sent to dismantle your illusion. They came to activate a truth so deep your old life couldn't hold it. This is Jung's individuation, the ego breaking down so the true self can emerge. They didn't just touch your heart, they exposed your foundations. Everything not built on truth began to crack. Friends fell away, goals felt empty, comfort zones became cages. Silence grew louder, emotions messier. You felt things you couldn't explain. It felt like chaos, but it was cosmic construction. The universe sometimes sends disruption first to break the pretending you. That's how you know this was real. It didn't just fit your life. It forced you to rebuild it. This isn't destruction. It's divine demolition tearing down the unaligned so the next you could rise. Jung said, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order." That order is your soul blueprint. Their arrival was the spark. No, they didn't ruin your life. They redefined it. The confusion isn't the end. It's the beginning of your real path. Transformation starts with disruption. If your world is shaking, something vital is being born. Chapter 8. They don't complete you. They reveal your wholeness. Let go of the fantasy. This isn't Hollywood, no broken heart meets savior story. This is sacred reality. They didn't come to complete you. You were never incomplete. They didn't arrive to fill a void. They arrived to remind you there never was one. The world taught you to seek outside, for someone to fix you, be your better half, believe you were half a soul waiting for rescue. A beautiful, dangerous lie. Jung shattered this. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration. Integration happens looking inward for truth, not outward for completion. The person entering at this depth doesn't complete you. They awaken you. They reflect the you forgot the confident, you buried under, fear the passionate self dimmed to please the fearless soul who dreamt big before the world said, "Be realistic." They don't rescue, they remind. That's why it's so intense, so spiritual. They don't just love who you are now. They see disowned, discarded, denied pieces, holding space for you to bring them home. This is the true soulmate's work, not becoming your missing half, but helping you realize you've always been whole. You just forgot, due to trauma rejection conditioning, trying to be enough for everyone but yourself. They come as a mirror, not a fantasy, a mirror of your full self. It shows not just beauty, but strength, buried, power forgotten, depth, divine wholeness. That's why it can feel raw, unsettling. When someone stops trying to save you and sees you as already whole, you confront the truth. Maybe you never needed saving, just remembering. That's what they do, remember you back to yourself. Not through fixing, but reflection. Not healing you, but creating space for you to heal yourself. That's real love. Not dependency, not fantasy, but soul-level integration. The one who truly loves you won't say you're incomplete. They'll remind you with their presence, you were always everything. Chapter 9. The relationship feels divine, yet utterly impossible. There's that feeling, isn't it? Unexplainable. From the moment you met, it felt cosmic, fated, written long ago. You didn't choose them. You recognized them in their voice eyes, the way your soul seemed to breathe for the first time in years. But then, the pain. Timing off, distance too wide, emotions too intense. One of you wasn't ready. Life interfered. Suddenly, this divine connection felt like a divine contradiction. How can something so right be so impossible? Jung had an answer: the tension of opposites, sacred psychological friction between conscious, unconscious, ego-soul control transformation. Meeting someone who touches your unconscious so deeply awakens the buried. The shadow you don't get. Simplicity. You get alchemy. Alchemy is messy fire-pressure destruction. Something inside must die for something sacred to be born. This is why it feels divine and devastating. You crave them, but being around them is overwhelming. You long for union, but wounds sabotage closeness. You try to walk away, but the connection pulls you back like gravity. This isn't confusion, it's transformation. Not here to be convenient, here to wake you up. You're not just in a relationship, you're at your inner universe's edge, staring into a mirror, reflecting highest potential and deepest fears. No, it's not supposed to be easy. Easy doesn't change you. This was never about comfort. It's about expansion. Wanting to hold on, run, fight, forget. That's the paradox of soul-aligned connection. It doesn't give clarity first. It gives contradiction. It pulls you into the sacred space where pain becomes purpose, confusion becomes consciousness. That tension being torn between desire and despair isn't dysfunction. It's divine design sculpting your soul. Jung taught this tension must be held, not resolved. Your longing, ache, frustration are ingredients for growth. You're being stretched, broken open, made to hold more than your ego can bear. Through this, you become more. If it feels impossible, maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the sacred pressure cracking your false self, inviting your soul forward. Not meant to be easy, meant to be transformative. Transformation asks for your comfort expectations, old identity. What you get back is your truth. Chapter 10. The love leads you ultimately back to yourself. Some stories don't end as imagined. Some hearts don't stay. Some hands become memories. Some souls, however divine, the connection don't walk with you forever. That's okay. This was never just about them. This was about you. Whether they stay or vanish, whether it ends in commitment or heartbreak, the truth remains, you are not the same. They didn't just touch your heart, they cracked it open. They didn't just make you feel love, they made you confront everything inside you unloved. They didn't just change your path, they changed you. Jung called this individuation, the path back to the self. Not the world-shown self, not the survival-shaped self, but the real self, buried beneath trauma, waiting beneath masks, guarded by your shadow. This love, divine, painful, beautiful, complicated, was the key. Through them, you saw yourself, fears, light, darkness, potential, pain, power. You saw what needed healing, felt emotions you never permitted. cried in new ways, awakened desires, dreams, wounds, truths, long silent. They didn't save you, but awakened the version of you who could. Didn't complete you, but revealed the wholeness you forgot. Maybe that was the point. This love wasn't a destination. It was a mirror, reflecting everything you're becoming, reminding of everything you already are. It's a journey aligned with the heart of Carl Jung's shadow work, where loving another becomes the portal to loving yourself. You thought you met your soulmate. You really met the part of you your soul yearned to meet, the part you abandoned, judged, thought unworthy. Through loving them, you began reclaiming yourself. So no, this wasn't just love. It was spiritual initiation. It brought your unconscious to surface, made your shadow visible, shattered illusions, burned masks. From ashes, you rose different, deeper, wiser, more whole. Even if they're gone, even if the story ended, don't call it failure. Look at you now. Look what you've become. No longer waiting to be loved, learning to love yourself. No longer running from pain, facing it, integrating it. The greatest gift this love gave wasn't the relationship. It was the return to your true self. In the end, that's what real love does. It leads you home, not to another person, but to the person you were always meant to be. Music swells, then softens. Host looks directly at the camera with profound empathy. This wasn't just a video. For many, it was a soul awakening. You didn't just watch, you felt it in your gut chest, deep corners of your past. This wasn't content, it was a confrontation with lost love, the forgotten you, the truth you've feared. So now what? Scroll and numb it, or claim the version of you that just woke up. If this shook you, type below, I didn't just love them, I met my soul. Not for likes, but as a sacred declaration that this chapter changed you. If you're done with empty content, done sleeping through destiny, hit subscribe. This channel isn't for the fake, the followers. It's for the awakened. The ones here to rise, burn, rebuild. Your healing is holy. Your pain is a portal. Your story is just getting started. Let's go deeper together. Subscribe, awaken, and never forget, you didn't lose them. You found you.